So firstly, a very big welcome to all of our participants. A big welcome to our speakers, and I'm going to do a little introduction to them, and also just to share some of the slides that we've got. So I think this is probably a chance for us to talk about what is probably one of the most important issues associated with economic development at the moment, and I think that any person that's involved in the process, this is probably the crux of the issue, because you can design great programs, you can look at really focusing in on how to actually help businesses and help businesses to support them. But actually, if you don't engage with them, if you don't connect with them, then you're never going to be able to really deliver the sort of value that is actually, is actually the potential value in there. So it's a really key part of it. So Smart Society, this is the next in our series of webinars to really look at how economic development departments and those that are involved in the process can actually really look to drive that value, and this is really a key part of it. And it's very much driven on the back of a survey that we ran last year with businesses. So we got responses from about 4,000 businesses from all across England. We also got responses from around about 100 economic development professionals, looking at the issues associated with business support, looking at the issues. And I think probably the resounding statistic that came out, is that stark statistic that 80% of SMEs just don't engage with local authority business support, and we will dig into some of the issues around this. But the point around this is, I think, is that we need, as part of this community, to really understand how best to engage businesses, because whether it's the reputation of the support that's delivered, whether it's the fact that businesses don't really link business support with a local authority provision, or whether it's just that businesses just have no idea that support is available to them, the more that we can do to engage these businesses, the better, really, and the more chance of being able to engage with more businesses. What it means then is that programs are then have better participation rates. You have more people at events. More people at events means more local networking, and I think that you can get that sort of virtuous circle in terms of that. So the engagement piece is a really key part of that. And the two speakers that we've got today, who I'm delighted to introduce, from different organisations, but are closely linked with businesses and are really experienced in terms of how you engage that. So just to introduce the two speakers, so our first speaker is Andy Waring. So he's part of Stubborn Edge. So Stubborn Edge have two major business community websites, one called smallbusiness.co.uk and the other called growthbusiness.co.uk. Both of those are supporting hundreds of thousands of businesses each year with their information and content, and Andy's going to be able to talk to us particularly from the kind of focus of area of finance and particularly around that kind of base of content and what really engenders support from businesses. Our second speaker is Tim Aker. Tim's a former politician, now key part of the Federation of Small Businesses, or FSB, as we all know that. Tim has been involved with small businesses for many years, and I think is able to really comment from the perspective of what works. I think we had a really interesting discussion just before the webinar started around what's happening potentially economically within the business. It's a really challenging backdrop for businesses, and confidence at the moment is something that I think is a challenge. So it will be really interesting to hear from just how the techniques that he uses to engage businesses and what will happen as we move through the year in what might end up being a really challenging economic time. But I'd like to hand over to Andy first. So Andy will talk to you a little bit about that. I will be controlling the slides. So Andy, just let me know when you need me to move forward. But just a big welcome to Andy Waring.
Thanks very much, Jeff, and thanks for the kind introduction. So this is me. I'm Andy Waring. I'm the Director of Intermediary for Stubborn Edge Group that incorporates smallbusiness.co.uk and growthbusiness.co.uk. I've been supporting business owners through financial services sector for over 35 years, of which the last 3 years have been with Stubborn Edge. Just so you're aware, Stubborn Edge Group has been trading since 2018 and is a top 25 UK fintech company. We acquired Small Business and Growth Business in 2022. So who are we? Thanks for the slide. So just to give you an idea about Small Business, we are the #1 website for sole traders and early stage SMEs across every sector. It's estimated now there is about 5.5 million SME business owners in Britain today who are all searching for information on how to run their business. So this website provides a raft of information for small business owners, including daily news, advice, reports on the most pressing issues facing small business owners. We have our own editorial and media team that deliver all the content around the website. We cover topics ranging from how to finance a business to marketing your business and what technology can support your business. Advise our readers through the whole journey of starting and running that business and everything that's connected to running a business. So just on the next slide, we also run a second site called Growth Business. So Growth Business supports C-suites, so the chiefs of the world, of fast-growing digital scale-ups, of which there are 34,000 that generate over 50% of the SME turnover. Growth Business focuses on and serves its audience with trends in fundraising and financial management, leadership skills, productivity, workplace culture, how-to guides from Europe's top venture capitalists and advisors. We consider this site to be the essential resource for today's savvy entrepreneur. So next slide, please. So just to give you like an overview of the audience that we reach as a business. So the first headline here is on the left-hand side, and the combined audience for both sites, Small Business and Growth Business, has over 3.2 million visitors in 2023, with similar numbers in 2024. Small Business, as you can see, has the largest audience with over 300,000 unique visits every month to the site, targeted at small business owners that have less than 30 employees. Our audience prefers to visit and search through the content on the website rather than being bothered by emails. So as you can see here, we only have 65,000 SME email addresses in the database. So our audience very much are that kind of young business owner that wants to find information for themselves. So we communicate through social media, which is we all understand how big that is. We use Twitter, which is obviously now called X, and that audience is growing. We're currently at 42,000 Twitter followers, and it continues to expand. Growth Business, a little bit different. We're hitting 65,000 unique visitors every month, focused on that larger business owners that have less than 250 employees. So if you just look at the website, and if we can just change to the next slide, please. So this is what it looks like. So this is just a snapshot of our website. We have a headline topic. So this is the best business ideas for 2024, which could be related to recent news articles or posts or a trend through social media. And we provide a range then of smaller headlines that get reported on that are of interest for the readers. So it may have been hot topics the previous week or the previous month, or just through social media, we've been asked to give some more information on. This website changes regularly. So in fact, we've got a new web page today. So the website content's already changed. So we regularly update the content to make it more relevant as to what a small business owner is looking for and searching for online. And that could be because there's been topics through news or other areas, could be like taxation, it could be budget. So we amend this page constantly to provide the most relevant topics that small business owners are looking for. And then, yeah, how to start a dog walking business, which is always a hot topic. So if we kind of go into the next slide then, so if we look at taxation and accounting, so it's coming to the deadline for self-assessment. Obviously, we're just a few days away now, so there'll be a mad rush for everyone to do the self-assessment returns. So we provide a raft of articles and information, including reports on software or other services a small business owner may need to make their own returns. Our editorial team will provide content on the various platforms that small business owners could access to kind of help them make better decisions on selecting the right piece of software or equipment to do those types of tax returns that they need to do. So in here, we kind of like really focus on all the different areas of VAT, ways to reduce the corporation tax bill, other tax efficient ways to kind of like run their business, and what to do about your profit. So this kind of goes into a lot of detail. And again, we constantly update this as to what news or government information comes out on a weekly basis. Next page. So on employment. So another big topic for small business owners. In here, we can provide any owner with HR advice on how to recruit, equality, diversity and inclusion benefits, how to carry out an annual appraisal with a member of staff, if you're running something manual, health and safety information, but we're also then kind of embed links into other sites and other kind of facilities where they may be able to carry out further reading. We also carry out research, so we do our own research on different software platforms, and here we, if it's relevant to HR software, how software systems can help manage staff, improve that decision making, and get the best value of buying technology to help them run their business. And of course, there are some other topics in there, for example, 0-hour contracts, and obviously the advantages and disadvantages of what that may look like for a small business owner. And of course, employment and HR is a big issue for small business owners. They don't have HR departments. So this is where they're kind of coming into a site like ours to get the best kind of advice on what to do. If you want to move on to the next one. So on banking and loans. So one of our most popular sites in smallbusiness.co.uk is around finance. And, I think we were speaking earlier, Jeff, that, what do business owners like to look for? And this is one of the areas that they'd like to see from smallbusiness.co.uk. And what they don't kind of find from us is, looking for insurance or kind of other added value services. What we find is from our readership and the content we provide is that they kind of want to know how they're going to kind of run that business, how they're going to grow the business and all the kind of areas around that. What we don't see from them is what they want to find out around an insurance policy. And I think there's kind of lots of kind of like sites around there that can help them do that. So on banking and loans in particular, as a small business owner, do I know which bank is going to provide me with a bank account? We kind of can go down the high street. The high street's kind of like less. There's fewer banks down there now. So who do I approach to get a business loan? What banks will give me a business loan? What information do I need to apply for a loan? Is there a particular banks that support small business owners? And if I wanted to kind of secure a loan, or if I've got a bad credit, who do I approach? Who do I go to? Where do I start in order to kind of get money for my small business? And in here, this is, I think, probably why it's such a kind of like rapidly visited site, is because it kind of gives all that information and will help small business owners decide on where to go for a bank account and who to approach. With some pros and cons, so we'll do some editorial content around it as well. Just moving on to the next slide then on utilities. We all know the cost of gas and electric's risen. So again, we provide essential information in here on who to approach for energy. So we've got there in the top right-hand corner, so 7 electricity suppliers for small business owners. We're also looking at brokers or energy brokers and what that entails, who to approach. There are now over 3,000 business energy brokers in the UK. So who do you go to? Who's the good ones? Who's the bad ones? Who's covering the whole of market? Who's kind of got limited offerings? So what we do here is kind of like break that down for a small business owner, give them some of the kind of good hints and tips for them to make better decisions, and hopefully kind of get them some lower cost energy for the business. And kind of like finally then, so business grants is the biggest topic we find on smallbusiness.co.uk. And if you just move on to the next slide then, Jeff, I've got some stats around what that looked like in 2024 for smallbusiness.co.uk. So we had over 136,000 searches from individual searches for grants in the UK. And if we write an article around grants, they outperform any other type of search that's been published on our website. So last year, small business grants was the biggest kind of search criteria that was entered. We had over 100,000 people who searched just for that. But then because our audience is UK wide, so then there are kind of more specific searches are in their local area. So we have business grants in Wales, how to find grants for training courses, everything you need to know for a small business grant, energy grants, Scottish grants, solar panel grants. You know, where do we go to find green small business grants? Is there something specific for women business owners? What can I get from my local authority? So quite adapt today. And if it's not the local authority, can I get something nationally from government grants? So this is a really kind of like big area for small business owners. And if they can connect to somewhere where they can get a grant, then this is obviously one of the areas that we see the most traffic. And again, just if you just go into I think the next page there. So, and this is what we've done to support that audience and their search criteria. So we've now listed 150 small business grants in the UK. So that goes from national schemes like the Prince's Trust Enterprise Programme, Innovate UK, Seed Enterprise Scheme, to localised grants like Birmingham Commercial Vehicle Grant, Worcester City Council Retail Enhancement Grant, Scarborough Business Startup Grant, Energy Efficient Grants in Manchester, Malvern Hills Growth Grant, and so on. And I think because this is such a hot topic and we're quite happy to host the information for free, what I would do and encourage is any local authority that has grants available, because we know that small businesses like to engage or like to go and find information for themselves. It's just getting the information. So any local authority, we will quite happily host that information for you through this website. We do it for free. And if they want to provide us with links on how to kind of like bring that back into the local authority site, we can embed links and kind of other information around that, any grants that are available. And I think from me, that hopefully gives you a good overview of smallbusiness.co.uk.
Fantastic, Andy. I think that's really helpful. I think the sort of takeaways from that is it's really useful to understand, the key content areas that businesses are searching for. I think, any takeaways from a economic development perspective are that, is to go on to the smallbusiness.co.uk website and just take a look at the content that's on there, because it's a really impressive content base. I think it's also just highlighting which areas of the content resonate with businesses, and I think that financing grant area is definitely an area that resonates, and just thinking about how then they can structure programs and and the localized content, just in terms of doing that. And what we'll do is we'll also circulate the relevant contact details of how local authorities can submit any grant schemes that they've got with that. So big thank you, Andy.
Thank
We're
you.
going to keep you chained into the webinar, because we want to make sure that you're around to answer some questions after. Just before I hand over to Tim, so just to note that we've got our question and answer system. So if you want to start adding questions in now, then what we will be doing is having a Q&A session at the end. So if any questions that have come up, or if you've got any questions that you want to add in there, please put them in. We're really keen to have the opportunity to cover off any questions in there. So you just need to click on the Q&A button and just add your question in there. So thank you for that. So really interesting perspective from smallbusiness.co.uk and growthbusiness.co.uk. I'm now going to hand over to Tim Aker to just tell us a bit about the Federation of Small Business and give perhaps a slightly different perspective on business engagement. So handing over to Tim.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. And I will save everyone death by PowerPoint. I'm just going to give you my words of wisdom. I certainly hope they come across as wisdom. As Jeff said, my name is Tim Aker, and I'm the representative of the Federation of Small Businesses in Kent and Medway. We have development managers all over the country. We're a nationwide organisation representing 200,000 small businesses. We have two strands of support for our members. The first is the member benefits. As a membership organisation, we give benefits in kind to our members, and by far and away the most, the 24/7 legal advice line. If you're a hospitality business and you need legal advice and you're working all the hours in the day and it's 3 a.m. and you need legal advice, it's there for you. Attached to that is a legal support fund. So let's say, for instance, you employ 10, 12 people and you get 2 tribunal claims that come with that. You're covered up to £100,000 per claim. And that's an incredible amount of support for small businesses compared to the £197 it costs to join us. There's support there for HR. There's tax investigation cover that's completely free. One member in London was pursued by the VAT man for £400,000, and without tax investigation support, she was cleared of that. So a life-saving service we provide there. We provide debt recovery advice and lots of other benefits that we add to on a regular basis. The other strand is our support through networking, connections, public affairs, which is of equal value, I believe, because one of our members has a wonderful way of words, and one of her quotes is, "Your network is your net worth." And at the end of the day, that is what the small business community is about, building relationships, because you never know who is going to be through the next door. You never know who the person you meet, who they know. And it's always not the people you meet, it's who they know and the referrals that come from that. But let's look at the problem. And as you'll have seen through the report, the findings from Smarter Society aren't that different from the polling we take out on behalf of our members. We poll our members every quarter for their business confidence, and it's reaching COVID levels. There is a business confidence crisis out there, but it's got a double whammy because there's also a consumer confidence crisis. Take an example, there was a very popular restaurant in Chatham that closed its doors only last week. And the complaints were supply costs had gone up, business costs had gone up. Of course, in April, the cost of employing staff goes up in terms of the minimum wage increase and also the employer's national insurance. But also out there with fiscal drag, with the squeezing on personal budgets, with inflation and interest rates and the consequent that has on mortgage payments, there's a consumer confidence crisis. The spend per head is going down. So it is an almighty terrible storm that small businesses have got to go through. But on the flip side of that, after the 5 years of chaos, really, that small businesses have had to face, they're still going. We've had our membership increase in Kent and Medway in the past year. Retention is up because business is solving problems. And as we know, talking to businesses, as you do in your local authority areas, there are lots of problems out there. So there will be lots of businesses that will spring up to solve those problems. So this isn't just a rant of doom and gloom. There is always sunshine on the horizon. And I've looked at it through my relationship with local government. Having been a councillor myself, I know the ins and outs of local authorities and know that the benefits and value they can bring to small businesses. But also dealing with small businesses, I learned to manage their expectations in dealing with local government. And a bit of constructive feedback is that it's a near universal complaint that local government websites are far from useful. And I don't know what the rationale is, but the structure and layout of all local government websites seem to be the same. And if one of the benefits of local government reorganisation could provide is a rejigging of local authority websites. But on the upside, people always seem to go to their councillors or the leadership or the officers when it's too late. Always, always, always. It's more often than not the case that people bring issues when it's far down the line. So they get the enforcement letter or they get final notice before something is done. And this is where we've tried to bridge that gap in bringing local authorities and businesses together. When I started at the FSB midway through 2021, there was an innovation that I saw from Keith Grimley at Gravesham Council, the Gravesham Business Network, where the local authority and businesses were brought together. We looked to spread that out. And so what we've tried to do is bring together businesses and local authorities together through what we call our local leadership pledge. And some authorities have signed this, some hopefully will sign it with discussions with their Federation of Small Business representatives. But it isn't a pledge in a way that we set down a series of demands and say, you must do this, because what works in Medway may not work in Halifax, for instance. So we try and localize it. And to give an example, we have rolled out a local leadership pledge with Medway that has been, I feel, quite revolutionary in how it really has brought together businesses and the local authority. And the most powerful element of the pledge, it's got 3 pillars of the pledge. The first is to bring local authority and businesses together. The second is to bring businesses into the policy-making process. They're fairly broad, but the third pillar is the most specific, and I feel the most rewarding, because it commits the local authority to having a single point of contact in their cabinet, if they have one, and a single point of contact in the officer class, which has worked extraordinarily well. You will struggle to find businesses that go to the networking events that are visible, that are vocal in Medway, that don't know the name Sean Henry and don't know the name Kai Arnold. They are very popular council officers, they're very influential, and if businesses do have an issue, it's not we'll go to the council, it's we'll go to Sean. They are there, they are visible. And this isn't something that's come overnight. This is something that we've introduced with the local authority. We have regular networking events, and we try twice a year to bring the leadership of the authority to the events, because they can give an update. Because, as we know, we get so many emails. Emails are automatically filtered out. The open rate is what? 7-10%. The leader in front of businesses gives an update of what's going on, and there's the two-way communication. But also, lots of businesses, when they have issues, they're very personal to the business. So having that personal contact, and I've seen it myself, where an individual has had, come to me and said, well, I've got this problem. And I've said, well, have you spoken to Vince Maple, leader of Medway Council? No. So we brought them together, and the issue gets resolved. And more often than not, it is that simple. And when you create an environment like that, word gets about, good news spreads fast, and these innovations just grow and grow. And as a result, Medway has its Business for Medway events, again, that bring the authority and businesses closer together. The Medway Business Showcase, which again is a business expo, brings the business together and has been a remarkable innovation. But an innovation we've seen is the support the local authorities give to expos, Smarter Society, the West Kent business show that's coming up in March, fantastic. It was very popular last year. It will no doubt be very popular again this year. But also the Kent Business Show, and one of the benefits down there is the incredible support that Ashford Council have given to Carol Black, who runs Kent Business Events and the Kent Business Show. You cannot move for publicity materials and all the support that Ashford Council has given to the Kent Business Show. And again, these things are a slow burn. And as they go on, our members are seeing the benefits that the local authority are providing, getting involved and actually turning up to more local authority sponsored events and building that relationship there. It doesn't come overnight. I think with the Medway partnership, we've been working on this for about 2.5 years now, and it does bear fruit. But one thing that struck from the report, Smarter Society's report, was the need for one-to-one business mentoring support to lead as appropriate. And we in the FSB in Kent are going to be rolling out a free one-to-one business support program with the university. And we will be rolling this out with local authorities because we want to partner. We want to work with the local authorities, work with the universities, work with the businesses to provide that support, because as you rightly said, Jeff, it's going to be a very rocky year ahead, but we want businesses to know that there is that support structure there, that we can bring together the university sector, the local authority sector, and provide a holistic range of support for small businesses, and tailoring as much as we can the support to the specific issues they've got. Because when people ask me, so what do small businesses, that's like saying, what do people need? There's a very diverse bunch of businesses out there. We've got a chimney sweep, we've got a wrestling franchise, we've got a garden nursery. Having as much focused support as possible is the silver bullet, and it will be in this year as the economic conditions get a bit rocky. So networking is vital. Being in person is vital. I think COVID has let people retreat behind the screen. The best results we see our members get are from in-person networking by far and away. The personal meetings always give better outcomes than virtual ones. It's how it's been. It's how it will always be. And building on that, we try and have our events at irregular times. And I don't mean having unsociable hours. It's that they're not always the first Monday of the month, because if you have them the same time, if you have them in the same place, people will get out of bed, they'll have a bad day, and they'll think, oh, it's on, and you will never see them again. So we always put them different times, different venues, different parts of the county, and we've seen membership increase, we've seen attendance increase, and it's a formula that works. So again, it's probably stuff that you know and are trying, but bring people in, go and meet businesses, unite with your Federation of Small Businesses, with the largest small business organisation in the country. Have a look at the local leadership pledge, because it is a symbolic certificate. Have it on display in your local authority lobby, because it shows you are working with the local authority. But I can't stress enough the value of having the designated officer and the designated portfolio holder, because people don't want to go and speak to the council. They want to go and speak to their Sean Henrys. They want to go speak to their Tom Jenkins. They want to know who they can go to and build that personal relationship, because then there's the bond of trust, and there's the feeling that they're getting something for their money. They're getting something for their business rates. They have invested in the local authority, and they're seeing its return in kind through that relationship they have with them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. I think that's a really interesting and quite different insight to what Andy was talking about, which I think was much more about content. I think that what's really interesting around that is those local authorities, and particularly those individual economic development officers that have kind of taken forward that mantle of showing to the local business community that that they have an identity and that problems can come to them. And I think that absolutely is something that works, not just in Medway, which we've absolutely seen that as well, but I think all across the country. I think that those departments that are well known, I think it's not something that you can just switch on. You need to invest in that over a number of years, but if you do that, it really does bear fruit in terms of the engagement, and I think really interesting in terms of the events. So thank you very much indeed for that. So just to add into to the points around that, I think is what's interesting to note around that. It is a little bit around some of the results of our survey and our report, which I think helped to really add to both the things that Tim and Andy were talking about. I think that it's fair to say that there are many SMEs out there that struggle to see the value in a number of local authority support programs, and that's not to say that they are all bad, but it's more a case of that you really have to push a number of different levers to and get it right for them to really. So I think what we do definitely see, and we did some interviews with some of the respondents around this, is that those local authorities that are differentiating their branding of the business support from the main council, I think in general they are more attractive to dynamic entrepreneurs, particularly young entrepreneurs. I think that works. There's also this contradiction. So business owners kind of perceive the local authority, to be collecting business rates, issuing penalties for non-conformance, not really helping them grow. And I think that's definitely a challenge. And I think that really kind of goes back to Tim's point around, economic development officers really kind of communicating out and being seen as being slightly separate. And I think the other challenge is, and this is a funding challenge, is that challenge that funding comes in fits and starts, and so there are gaps within that funding, and therefore it's really important that local authorities have a strategy around how they're going to provide ongoing support. And I think that really kind of goes towards that principle that Tim highlighted, that actually a lot of local authorities' websites are just not really fit for supporting businesses, they're not structured in the right way. They are branded with the local authority. Naturally, that's what they have to do. So I think that, and what we've definitely seen is that those local authorities that have a separate business brand generally have a much higher level of engagement in terms of in terms of how the businesses work, than how the businesses engage versus those that just use the local authority. So it's part of our system that we run. So we now provide local authority what we term funded business support websites. This is the new system that we are now launching. So these websites will be available next month. They pull content from a kind of hub source. So what it means is that you have a website which is localized with a localized domain name, but then it's pulling kind of general content, and it's also pulling general events. So what it means is that you're able to have a consistent service. It's a very low cost way of delivering a local website, and it's something that I think then allows you to kind of consider how you would do that. It's something that we're really excited about, and I think that we recognise that listening to entrepreneurs out there, they want to engage with websites. So if you look at smallbusiness.co.uk, if you look at any good website that's focused towards entrepreneurs, they are designed very differently to a local authority, and that's specifically done. And so I think that's something that if you are interested in that, then our service launches next month. Any local authorities with looking to spend any residual budget through for the end of the financial year, this is definitely a system that can set up, and it's something that can be set up and operating within a few days. So really interesting opportunity. I think the key thing around it is why will a local non-local authority branded website help you? It's the consistent local support, increases the engagement of the local SMEs, and I think it allows you to also build a local community which has got value to businesses. So if you want to have a chat about that, whether it's the Founder Hut service that you're interested in, or doing it yourself as well, actually, then we'd be really happy to do that. So just finally, before we get into the Q&As, and if you want to start sticking the Q&As in, then we will move on to those. You may or may not have seen the 2024 business support survey that we run. We've run this survey now this is the third year that we've run it, and I think the report that we've got is probably the best one in terms of drilling into the information that we got there. You can scan the QR code, or for those that's a technological jump too far. Then if you just drop us an email at hello@smartersociety.org, then we'll send you the link and you can download the survey. It's got some really interesting stuff in terms of looking at what businesses want. Andy obviously talked about the fact that the most searched area is business grants, and I think that's no surprise. But if you look at what businesses want in terms of key business support services, what they're looking for is things like one-to-one mentoring and networking events. That ranks up there. It also gives some information around different timings that suit. Obviously, Tim's picked up on that. So I think that's really interesting. So I'll leave that QR code up so that you can download that. I'm going to jump over to the Q&As now, and I've got a couple of questions for Tim and Andy first. So I'm going to point this one firstly to Andy. So a key focus for local authorities over the last 3 years has been the journey to net zero. It's a really contentious area in terms of that there are a lot of different views around it. Obviously, internationally, we've seen a very recent big change, which probably means some changes around how the US will look at sustainability. But sustainability locally, I think, is still going to play a big part of business support programs. It is definitely fair to say that engagement in business support sustainability programs run by local authority can be really challenging. So, Andy, what suggestions would you give to local authorities in how best to communicate those programs, and how to get businesses engaged with them?
Yeah, so we did a bit of research around this as small business some time ago. So we kind of looked at sustainability and kind of what that means for small business owners. And, the research, we do consumer research, and the consumer research came back to say that, about 42% of consumers are more likely to shop with a small retailer over a larger, cheaper competitor if it had strong sustainability credentials. And, that's kind of a big thing. So we've got, small towns now with small independent retailers that really can do something quite amazing here and kind of put their head above the parapet as to what other people can, other businesses can offer. So, we've been working with various different kind of enterprises in small business around this. But what I would say is, and, what local authorities can do is kind of like create or launch some kind of like micro business toolkit. So for a small business owner, what is it? What do I need to do? How do I start? Where do I get this information from? What can the local authority do for me? And maybe that, for those local businesses on the high street in the local areas, maybe it is. And what Tim said earlier, having um, a session around kind of like, how to go about becoming sustainable as a business and what that means and actually what are the benefits and how that will help kind of a local business grow just by adopting some of these sustainability practices. And I think there's a really good opportunity for small business owners to do this now, getting ahead of the game. Larger corporates are going to come into this. They're going to become more sustainable in the future. They see this is the way it's going in the marketplace. So I think, local authorities could really kind of get a grip now and help those small business owners. But a toolkit, maybe local kind of regional events, or even then kind of engaging with other entities that have kind of done this in the past and actually tapping into some of that to host webinars. Not everyone can attend a day event or an evening event. So maybe have a combination of face-to-face and webinar solutions. And maybe engage with other third parties that have done this already.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. So same question to Tim.
I think lots of businesses now are concerned with survival first and foremost. And I think trying to sector off different types of grants at this precise moment is counterproductive. Andy made a good point about the high streets. I think that it's always the first port of call. The first port of call is always to put up car parking charges. And we found periods of free parking stimulate activity on the high street. Give us 3 periods of parking and then jack up the price thereafter. If people are going out and looking to spend 100, 120 pound on a dinner out, then if they throw in a fiver on top of that, then for the car parking, that's fine. But if you're on a low income and you want to go and do your banking and have a cup of tea in the cafe next door, you're put off by £1, £1.20, £2.50 of parking charges. And I think that would do more for sustainability of high street businesses than the sectorization of, oh, this is what we're doing to it. And because I've had some feedback where it just turns into a rant, a lecture rather than an actual bona fide business support. So I'd say that there's elements of doing and leading on this that would have a very sizable impact.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed on that. So yeah, really, really good perspectives on that. So staying with Tim, and this is a question kind of around the council business focused websites. So it's fair to say that a number of councils have business focused websites, but even with the socials, even with the focus on newsletters, businesses just don't seem to want to hear from local authorities. And a number of the issues are that are focused on things like business rates, particularly around national insurance. They're more central government interventions. So I suppose what if the businesses don't want to engage through what's already being done, what is it that is going to get businesses to engage? And I suppose that's the crux of it. But is there any kind of guidance that you'd suggest that if somebody's already got a website, business focused website, what should they be doing to it to maybe build that engagement?
I would brand the person behind it. And nobody wants to hear from the council. If you hear from the council, your immediate thought is they want money off you. That is it. That you speak to anyone, that's the immediate thing. It's some sort of enforcement or it's one-way traffic. If people hear, for sake of argument, I'm guessing this is Tom Jenkins' question.
It is, yes.
So they want to hear from Tom or they want to hear from Sean. And it's about providing a person. And that's the wonderful thing. People see the council as an abstraction authority that is just out there to take money from them to pick up the bins every 2 weeks. It's a big hurdle to get over. But if they hear from Tom, and they know that they can get all the benefits from Tom, and that Tom is the source of all knowledge, Tom is therefore not the council. And when they find out he's from the council, they actually have a higher opinion of the council. So I would say, rather than investing in websites, invest in yourselves, invest in putting your profile out there. I'd change the name Economic Development Officer. That sounds like something out of 1984. You know, you go out there and you decree that tractor production is at record levels. You need to personalize the service you provide. And like anything, I mean, we've all worked in a political environment. Okay, granted, our guests are in the civil service, but it's still political. And the best method of political communication is always one-to-one. And that's how you get the message over. People vote for people, people buy from people, people invest in people. So you are part of the cycle, and you're part of the environment. I wouldn't say I'd say don't hide behind an anodyne website or another name. People want to put a face to a name. So as I said, get your brand out there, meet businesses, host your events, have the one-to-one sit downs. But similarly, in your marketing materials, market yourself, because you are the font of economic development. You're that bridge between businesses and the local authority.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting one. I think, just reiterating the point of the of the individual, and how that then improves the people's opinions of the council, which I think is interesting. Andy, what's your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree there. I think there is a need for that personal relationship, and I think you're right. What Tim mentioned there. I think people probably look at the local authorities a little bit differently. So, as a kind of person who's there to support small business owners, make it stand out, make it different, make it kind of personal, engage in different ways. We've talked about, face to face, but look at webinars, or teaming up with chambers and other entities where you can get the message out to more businesses, far reaching, make it different. So don't do kind of what you've done in the past and kind of sat behind it as, like Tim said, the economic development officer. Make him a more of approachable, make him the small business kind of support officer, give him a more relevant title that actually means something to a small business owner. And I think you can look at, various ways of engagement. Face-to-face is obviously the best and probably works the best, but actually small business owners, they may not be able to get out until after hours. So maybe having an early evening webinar, just as an approachable kind of like, hey, I am the small business kind of economic development guy in the area. Come and have a webinar with me at 6 o'clock. And let's just have a talk through some kind of, areas that I can help you with. And they can be short and sweet, don't make them kind of 2 hour long, but do them short and sweet sessions where people can just attend and kind of get that information they need.
Yeah, I think that's great, Andy, and I think it's really interesting that you talk about making it different, making it have a different look and feel. I think that absolutely comes out in the results of our survey. Is that entrepreneurs, people that are starting businesses, they're dynamic and they want the information and the people that they engage with. They want to also see that they're dynamic, and I think that that's about really making sure that the support that's provided looks different. I think that's absolutely something that we've seen where we deliver localized websites already. Those that really look different to the local authority, and almost that you can't see the local authority in there, I think get the best levels of engagement. I think that going on to the individual side of things, I think is those economic development officers that are really well known, that are getting involved in social media and that are actually sharing stuff that's happening and that are showing themselves getting out into the community. They are most definitely the most effective, and I think that is across the board. And I think that it takes a bit of a leap of faith for people to go on there. But if you look at some local economic development officers, LinkedIn, you'll see that they're posting on a regular basis. They're posting about success stories. They're posting about opportunities for business. And you know, and that's a great way to be able to do that. So I think that is a really interesting one. So fantastic. So we've got a couple more questions, but we have a hard stop at 12. So I'm going to wrap the webinar up now. Just to let you know that we will be sharing a recording of the webinar so that you'll be able to see that on playback. Also to note, if you have any questions, come to us. So it's hello@smartsociety.org. We can certainly then direct you to either Tim or Andy in terms of any specific questions about FSB or about smallbusiness.co.uk. And I think that both of them I'm sure will be happy to support with that. If you'd like to find out information about you know, how you can set up a really differentiated localized website with lots of content in, then contact us and we can do that. And obviously from a you know, business support program, if you want any advice, or if you're looking to find out about the business support programs that we've been running for local authorities around England that have been successful, you can also we can also help you with that in terms of you know, some of the specifications that we've been operating to, or how we've been doing certain things. You know, I think in terms of that engagement piece, we can really help with that. So, but I'd like to say a really big thank you to my speakers, Andy Waring from Stubborn Edge, and Tim Aker from the FSB. And otherwise, thank you all for attending, and we will look forward to seeing you at the next Smarter Society webinar.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.